Again. My name is Sergio Max Business Profits. I'm here with my friend and home inspector extraordinaire, Richard Koyman, also known as Rick Koyman. He owns Trade Secret Inspections, and we are on the third segment of our little talk. Today's information is going to be insurance inspections and why it matters to everyone. So, Rick, take it away. Where would you like to begin this conversation?
Well, it's good to be back with you, Sergio. Let's start there. And let's go with, man, I hope everybody out there is listening to this one. I really do. This one comes up, I got to say, every day I have someone with this exact problem in my world of what's going on. And it comes down to what you don't understand about what is changing with the insurance world, what the significance of these forms and these inspections mean. They've been around for a while. They've had these forms since 2012, but they didn't use them the same way. They didn't really reference them the same way as they are now. They didn't rely on them as much. And now they absolutely are. And they're absolutely the thing that is standing between you and your insurance. And that's because when you get told to have these inspections done, your insurance is just about to expire or has expired, and 8 in 10 people have something that needs repaired in their house according to these forms. So what does that mean? That means that now you're under the gun to get to whatever spec you don't understand the insurance company is actually looking for you to be at. And now you have a time constraint, or you're looking at going with and the bank putting PMI on it, and you having to deal with that. And my message to, this is why I say everyone, is just because you call and ask for a 4-point inspection doesn't mean you have to send it to your insurance people. You can use it for your own perspective and go, hey, is this a clean 4-point? And if not, why isn't it? And let's take some time, and I need a new air conditioner, I need a new hot water tank, or I need repiped, or I need a new panel, or I need a new roof, or, the list is long and it's expensive. And, every day I've got one today. They're just like, I got the 4-point you sent us. The insurance says that it doesn't meet approval. And I'm like, well, I told you that when we did it, and it's all in what needs to be corrected. It's all cited there, and there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. They're pictures. They're labeled.
So before you get into the forms and the 4-point inspection, which we'll explain what that is, we have wind mitigation inspections. There are roof certificates. I'm a little confused, Rick, because my insurance has basically doubled. I haven't had any claims. My roof isn't a brand new roof. And you and I have had this conversation before where I'm really fearful where they're going to come back and say, hey, we're not going to insure you unless you replace the roof. Now, mind you, I have no leaks.
Doesn't matter.
No missing shingles. I had the roof treated, protectant, which it doesn't seem like they really care about. So I don't understand, because I'm only paying a little over $5,000 a year for homeowners, but I know people who are paying $6,000, $9,000, $12,000 for
insurance. Absolutely.
But I feel like the insurance companies are either A, trying to not write a policy on that property, or just trying to basically just say, we're not going to cover all these things, because there's hurricane deductibles and everything else that goes along with that. At the end of the day, are we really getting the coverage? So tell us how these forms kind of integrate with what we're getting for what we're paying for, which seems like we're paying a lot more now than ever.
And you absolutely are. Obviously, everybody can see what prices are, and prices going double and triple is pretty obvious. What is going on is exactly what you said. The insurance industry is doing everything they possibly can to, in their words, get back on their feet. They need to recover money from you and not write you checks. So that's where this stuff comes in. So they're very much paying attention to these forms. Like I said, they didn't just create them, they've been around. They're just now saying, hey, we want only yeses and satisfactories, no issues of any kind. And there's definitely age limits that we're looking at. It's not conditional based on some things. It's just simply, it's this is how old it is, and we're not going to touch it. And that's where, like your roof situation comes in. And, well, maybe the roof is fine, and you can come out and the roofers will say, well, there's nothing wrong with this roof. There's no problems. There's no leaks. There's no reason to do anything to it, except that you want to buy insurance. And insurance doesn't want to write you a policy on an old product. They're just not doing it anymore. So
that's very disheartening, because I can tell you,
and the coverages you're getting are less, and you're paying more, and the barricades between you and that claim are getting greater, in the sense of, House Bill 7052, where they amended all these things and they said no more assignments of benefits, and now you've got to pay your own attorney's fees is one way attorney fee things over with. Well, those are game changers. That's not just about, oh, we're going to stop the abuse. You've put the power now in the insurance company's hands, and now they're going to abuse you.
Well, you kind of took the words out of my mouth.
What's happening?
I was sitting here thinking, well, I happen to know that a lot of where the money's going with these insurance companies is for litigation.
Most of it.
The attorneys are making
80% of the losses are litigation losses.
And then you have these, and I can make an argument.
And there's truth to be had to these stories, and there's truth on both sides of it, right? So there's no one place to point the finger and say this is where it went bad. Right. It went bad when the weather changed and there was catastrophic loss. That's when it went bad. And then everybody went,
right?
Not me, you. Yeah. And they were left holding the bag, and there was a lot of different languages in the coverage policies, in particular after Irma, regarding the roofs, where there wasn't a proration wrote into the coverage policy on your roof. So right. The insurance company got held responsible for the 100% cost of the replacement of that expired roof that got damaged. And they're like, well, it was 25 years old and expired anyways, but we didn't catch up to it in time. We had to pay for all those new roofs, and we're not going to do that ever again.
Right. Understood.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the game is for real, and that's why I say everybody is under the guise of how it used to be, and that, insurance is here to help you out, and we have this stuff to be our coverage, right? And we still do. We just have to understand that it's actually not an entitlement. It's something that is an investment, and we have to work towards, and we have to make sure that we're meeting our side of the agreement.
Well, it's worse than that, even, I think, because as a guy who has a mortgage on the property, I don't have the option of insurance or no insurance or self-insuring.
Exactly.
So I have to do it, basically pay $9,000 a year,
right,
for the benefit of the bank.
Yeah, for sure.
And God forbid I put contents on my policy, because I've looked at that too. I've taken contents off my policy because it's like crazy. It's crazy stupid. And I don't know. Look, when you have people in here 20, 30 years in their house, and they only have 5-10 years left to pay on their mortgage, and they can no longer afford to even make the mortgage payment because now it's escrowed. The new amounts are escrowed in their mortgage payment, and they're like, "We got to leave. We got to sell."
Fixed income South Florida.
Yeah.
And inflation is driving people, retired people, at the end of the whole program, saying, "Oh, by the way, we're going to take your house now."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's no joke.
Yeah, no, it's a serious issue. So that being said, tell us about The wind mitigation. Well, let's start with the 4 point. Tell us what the 4 point is. It's so important.
Well, let's start with 4 point. I think my mic just changed.
No, it's good. You're good.
Okay. The 4 point is what insurance sees as their biggest expense risks. So it's roof, electric, plumbing, and HVAC. Those are the 4 points, if you will. So under each one of those content sections, there's a bunch of what is it, how old is it, and what kind of problem questions. And they're basically checkbox stuff. It's very specific to what they want. It's not subjective, right? So are there these things? Is there corrosion? Is there signs of leakage? Are there water stains on the ceilings? Is there water staining around the air conditioner? We have to provide a photo to them. So if you had an old condensate leak that got fixed, but the stand of the air conditioner is all stained out, and that looks like a mess, and they're going to look at it and go, no thanks.
Yeah, that's a problem. We
That,
think
that looks like a problem.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. Everybody needs to catch on that these things need to happen for their own edification, so that they understand when they get asked these insurance questions where they stand, right? Because for so long nobody ever thought that these things mattered, and now all of a sudden all these things mattered, and everybody's like, but I had that fixed and I don't care about the stain. I
Right.
understand that you don't care about the stain, but the underwriter looks at it and all they do is look at the photo and go, well, there's a risk there, and I don't want to bet on high risk stuff.
Yeah, and so like we were saying earlier, that they're looking for reasons not to insure.
Yes, they're looking for any reason that might cost them money.
Right.
And yeah, ultimately that means that they're not going to offer you an insurance coverage for it. They might offer you a policy that writes out that issue, or you get no water coverage, or you get no wind coverage, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're paying a bunch of money and you're getting the right of saying you have insurance, but the actual end of the day coverage of what you're getting back is unfortunate. Let's just leave it at that.
You're making your mortgage company happy, but that's about it.
Yeah, you're meeting your specific required
Obligations.
But yeah, the industry, homeowners, just being a homeowner as an industry is changing, and it's changing because of the insurance industry. Right? And it's actually finally starting to show itself in the market lists, and these older people getting basically thrown out of their homes because their fixed income won't pay the property tax and the property insurance and buy food.
Medicine.
They own a house. They've owned a house for 30 years.
That's true. Yeah, I'm seeing more and more of this.
Right? And this is all inflation, every which way you look at it. But, at the end of the day, the ultimate cost of what happened is someone had to move.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is inflation, because obviously if something needs to be fixed or replaced, there's materials involved, and the materials and labor have gone up in price. But I think ultimately too, I mean, a lot of this is just caused by the change in weather patterns.
Oh yeah,
You and I talked about this in the last episode. I mean, there wasn't even, we never ever had hurricanes here. It was like, what? No, not here. The last major hurricane was like in 1965, Hurricane Donna.
Yeah, the cycles are changing.
Yeah, the cycles are changing,
and the city and the insurance companies are catching on, and the older homes are not going to be allowed to be put back to how they were post damage. There's, so you get a requirement now to do a full up to code renovation when you only had to do a partial repair instead. Right. No, sorry. If you want to do your doors and windows, you're going to do all your doors and windows. They're getting tight on things, and every which way you go. And the property values go up, your property insurance goes up, and again, the people on the fixed income side of things, people see it as a win. Your property value went up. Well, they didn't want to leave. That their fixed income didn't make it to the property tax and the insurance requirement anymore. So.
Right. Right. It's
Hooray for the property value.
sad but true. So going back to the 4 points.
Yeah, so going back to the 4 point, it's just important for people to be proactive is the message. If you have had insurance forever and you've got an older home, think about spending a couple $100 to find out ahead of time, and at the end, you still have the completed form for when the day comes and they ask you for it, and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, here, no big deal.
How long is a 4 point good for? There's a time limit on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the 4 point is technically only valid for 1 year, or if anything gets changed. The odd part of it is the WINMIT is valid for 5 years, but technically they made the 4 point valid for 1 year power tool for the industry, so that they can keep every time they rewrite the policy, have someone come back through it and relook at it.
Well, in all fairness, I guess things could change. Like an AC can break down. I mean, that stuff happens all the time, especially down here.
Yeah, it just goes back to that presumptive coverage, that we all grew up with, where you're just like, I don't know, you just call and get insurance, and you pay it and whatever. And now insurance is difficult.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know what it's like in other states. Actually, I do know what it's like in other states. I don't know what it is. Well, I guess it's a Florida thing more than anything else, because I can tell you, owning property in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now, I sold that property a year or two ago, but I can tell you I had a very similar sized house in North Carolina as the one I have now, and my bill here is $5,200. My bill there was $300.
Yeah, no, it's very much a Florida thing, and I can tell you in defense of
much older
insurance. In defense of the insurance industry in this statement is the reason it's a Florida thing is the state of Florida by itself represents more in financial loss than the entire rest of the country combined.
Wow.
And it goes back to legal fees and all that other stuff, but that's why it's so intensely different down here. Because I mean, that's a big statement, right? That's a big thing to say. Yeah. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. This state by itself represents a bigger risk to an insurance company than the whole rest of the country. All of it together, they don't pay as much as they pay out down here.
Then you wonder, it's like, at what point does it just get so economically unfair to have insurance in the state?
That's where we're coming to, and that's why I talk about property age and staying up with this insurance thing, and getting a little educated on why being a homeowner is a little bit more of a task than it is just a privilege.
Well, maybe it's the difference between the American dream and the American bad day, maybe. It's a nightmare, but
the real American.
Yeah, but I mean, look, in Florida, it's become really economically unfeasible. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody talks about the migration in, at 2 or 3%. Oh my God, the whole world's moving here, right? But nobody talks about the migration out, which I can tell you, just last year was 700,000 people post-Ian. That's a big chunk. So
it was a big chunk. The industry has the wind mitigation, and that the whole program of the wind mitigation is a crediting system to try to reduce the rates based on that 4 point high ass premium that they assess that risk to be. And then they go back and say, well, according to the WINMIT, you meet these upgraded things that we would like to see because of this Florida weather. This unique condition that we live in down here, and these problems we have to deal with. So if you have these improvements and the structure is modified a little better than the original older stuff is, they will acknowledge and give you a discount on it. But even on that end now, they're getting way more strict on where those discounts apply and to what rate.
Real quick, explain to everybody what a wind mitigation report is.
A wind mitigation report is a study that describes basically the house is assembled and what materials was it used. So they want to know what kind of doors and windows are there? Are they impact rated? If not, are there shutters? If there are shutters, are they large missile rated? Are they small missile rated? Are they not rated at all? Are they Florida approved? I mean, all these little nuances now suddenly matter. It used to be like, oh, you got wood shutters that you handmade and you put up when the storm comes. That's cool. We'll give you a discount for that. And it's literally on the form. But
Yeah.
they're not giving that discount out anymore. I can promise you that.
Why do you think that is? Why wouldn't they give a discount for a protective item?
Well, for the plywood thing, particularly, because at this point, everything has to be what we call a Florida approved product, meaning it has what we call a notice of acceptance or an NOA, and that product went through Florida approval testing where they stand, and they literally shot 2x4s at it 3 times. Every product, every window, every door, everything that says it's hurricane rated goes through this testing procedure. And this is where large missile comes from and small missile and blah, blah, blah. These testing standards. So at this point, they want the biggest and the best. They want large missile, and that's it. That's the full 2x4.
Yeah, that's right. I think they do those at 90 or 100 mile an hour tests.
Yeah, basically. It's an air cannon that shoots a 2x4 out of it. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Okay.
It's basically a 100 mile an hour impact.
So the wind mitigation reports, the insurance company.
Yeah, it's windows and doors. It's how is your roof attached, meaning the trusses to the walls, because we want to keep the roof on the wall in the big thing. And then the second layer of the roof is the roof deck. So how is the roof deck now attached to the truss that's attached to the wall? Mm-hmm. And then how is the roof covering? What is it? How old is it? And how is it attached? So we can start to see where this is all going, right? We're looking at durability stuff here, and then it goes back to, well, what building code is it built to? How old of a house is it exactly? That's a question. And all these things amount to discounts on this form, or they amount to higher policies on your property, which is why I bring up these topics about age and 4-point and understanding these things. And I keep saying it over and over again, that what used to be is no longer the case. And what goes on north of Florida is north of Florida.
Right. Might as well be another planet.
Yeah, it might as well be, because it doesn't mean anything here.
Let's move on to roof certificates.
Yeah, roof certificates are almost non-existent anymore. And that's funny, because the roof certificate specifically is simply the roof section of the 4-point form, taken out and made into its own separate form. It's the same thing. It's the same questions. And it goes back to that topic where you were talking about your roof, where we used to be able to go out and say, based on our expertise, that, yeah, the roof is this old, but it's in good shape. It doesn't have these problems. We expect it to live another 5, 8, 10 years. Well, one, we got to understand what numbers are defined as when we say those now, because if I say it's good for 5 years, the insurance industry goes, okay, we're done now. And you're like, what? I have it for 5 more years. And they're like, yeah, with no insurance. Like, what?
So 5 years, the 5 expectancy of your roof is not good enough for them anymore.
No.
To insure it right now for a year.
They'll give you 1 year on a 5-year life expectancy. They used to go to 3. They were given they would write you a 1-year policy on something that we would say, it's at the end, but it's going to be in the next 3 to 5 years. This is going to be due to be replaced. And they go, okay, we'll write a 1-year policy, limited coverage on the roof side of things, of course, because we're not going to buy you a new roof on this old deteriorated roof, but we'll write you a coverage policy for the rest of the structure. And they've taken that now to 5, meaning they'll do 1 year on a 5-year estimate. And honestly, that roof certification form, it used to allow us to say that your metal roof that, the product is a 50-year product.
You're
The
right.
roof chart says that the roof is 25 or 30 years of age. Again, it goes back to the underlayment, but the assessments aren't being read anymore. They're not being heard. The roof certification thing is really just, hey, we want to know how old it is. We want someone to actually go out, verify is anything missing from it, and write down with their license number, when was it installed. I want to know the math. And that's the end of the conversation.
So there's not even a point in buying a 25 or 30-year shingle or even a 50-year shingle. I know they have those as well. There's no point in it because at the end of the day, the insurance company is going to make their judgment call. And even if you have 5 years left, they're going to treat you like you got 1 year left.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
It is really unfortunate, but honest to God, it is mostly true to say that while that's some super expensive metal roof or high finish, coated tile roof that's, amazingly awesome, that should be a 50-year roof, there's nobody on the state that will ever give you a policy to cover it for that amount of time. So we love this. I'm certified by the same people that the roofers get certified through, so that I can go up and say, I know what's going on just like you guys do. Okay. So I'm in the same room with them all the time for the trainings. And I ask, they ask, well, what would you put on your house? 30 years shingle. End of story. Why would I spend any more money?
Right.
I'm going to put the best product for the lowest cost that is going to do what everything else is going to do. You're only going to average on everything else that you're going to give on that.
That's my point.
30-year shingle.
Right.
So if I buy the Taj Mahal, my 30-year shingle's still the same value.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a shame, but that's just how this has come down to shake down to in this whole gamut of who's going to pay for what.
Okay. Well, we pretty much covered a lot of stuff on the inspections and the forms. So in a nutshell, what do the homeowners really need to understand based on everything we just said? Put yourself now where you need to be for the homeowner in this.
Yeah, this is my message. Most homes I go into for the 4-point is a standard 20-year-old house or whatever, and the valves aren't really leaking, and the house is in typical average condition, dust in the corners and whatever, and a cabinet from years of storing things here and there, and nobody ever looks at that. But the insurance industry, it doesn't need to be actively leaking to them. If it looks like it's old, if it's got blue on it, if it's got mineral deposits building up on it, these are all indications of age. These are all the things that they're not wanting to take part in. So, over and over again, I go in and I see old air conditioners, water stains at the air conditioners, water stains on ceilings from old leaks that got repaired, whether it be a roof or a condensate leak, whatever. I mean, all these things that we all just thought it was my prerogative how I want to live. Now we've got this other party that's coming in and evaluating us in a way and saying, you know what, if you want me to put my money up on the board with this stuff, I'm going to ask for newer things here. And that's what's catching most people off guard. And that's why I really want to get the word out to just, don't wait. Don't wait. It's only a couple $100. You don't want to find out when you don't have insurance that you need to spend 10 grand to have new pipe put in, or 5 grand to have a new panel,
or 17 grand for an 1,800 square foot house on a roof.
Yeah.
17 grand. And
that's very low.
Low. Oh my God. I almost had a stroke when they told me it was going to be 17 grand.
That's very low.
I replaced the roof 2 years ago in North Carolina, that house I talked about for the insurance. Mm-hmm. I replaced that roof. You know how much it cost me?
5 grand.
Yeah. 5 grand.
Yeah.
17 grand. I'm like, what are these shingles made of?
No.
They got solar panels built into them or something?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's how much.
A typical shingle home roof is in the 20,000s, and a typical
Ah,
roof is in the upper 30s, low 40s.
something's got to change because there's a whole slew of people out there who can't afford 20 grand for a roof just to get insurance.
Well, think about
And
that.
then,
When you go
and
into
then if they
these,
get the
you go
insurance,
into, I go into these neighborhoods, and the whole development is the same. You know, they all got the same
yeah,
roof on them, and everybody's like, "No, they're fine." And I look at it and I go, "The whole neighborhood's about to go." And what I mean that is, the whole neighborhood's about to get re-roofed because they're all going to go like dominoes. Like they're all the same age. They're all going to get the same notice
yeah,
from
boom, boom, boom.
whoever it is their underwriters might be. But
Yeah,
it's all going to go down the same course, and it's
right.
just a shame. But yeah, I get it all the time where the homeowners are resistant. Let's put it that way.
No, that those
And
prices do
it's
go
not
really
my opinion. It's not your opinion.
right.
It's not anybody's opinion at this point. It gets to write the rules and how we get to play the game.
All right. Well, you heard it right from Rick, and Rick is probably more qualified than anybody I know to make the statements and the advice he's giving. We covered wind mitigations. We covered 4 points. We covered roof certificates. Rick, I'm assuming you can do roof inspections if
Oh,
somebody
please,
needs them,
absolutely.
right? You go out there and take a look at stuff.
I do roof inspections on roof replacements. Believe me, you don't just because it's brand new doesn't mean that they did a good job. I can't tell
Correct.
you. And not only that, it's so easy to do the minimum. They get it. They say, well, it passed. We build it to code. Code is the minimum.
Right.
You can do better. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you had to spend a lot more, but you could have done a couple little things here and there that make a whole lot of difference.
Right.
And these steps are now being skipped. There's not pride taken in numbers work when you're doing high volume stuff that you look around and you're like, I don't know, the roofs kind of don't look the same anymore. That they used to be prettier somehow. It's probably true.
Yeah.
The attention to detail's gone, and they meet the minimum standards. But yeah, roof inspections for sure. Old ones, new ones. Yeah, yeah. Lots of them, please.
You do the 4 points. You do the wind mids. So
Yes, sir.
why don't you tell them how they can get a hold of you?
You can find me online at tradesecretsinspections.com. You can email me at rick@tradesecretsinspections.com, or you can call, text 239-537-1186. I will get to you as soon as I can. I don't always answer it right away, but I call them right back.
Okay, great. So we've got a couple more topics coming. Be sure to check in, and the topics that are coming up are going to be very, very interesting. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we're gonna dig into some real good stuff on the environmental side of things and our health issues, and living in our homes is more than just looking at it.
Right. Okay, Rick. Thank you. Take care.
Great talking to you, Sergio. Till next time.